Welcome to this week in the world of wrestling.
Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our Lucha Underground review.
Lucha, 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 Lucha.
And I can't stop smiling right now without this show closed, but we'll get to that much later. But on the whole, and looking at this objectively, I'd still say this is another solid episode of Lucha Underground, though I think the one thing that must be remarked, this was quite a different format from prior Lucha Underground episodes, Ashton.
Yeah, it was. We only got 3 matches, one of which was maybe like a minute, 2 minutes, a squash match, and really no kind of cinematic backstage segments. We got 2 vignettes for individuals, but no real character development throughout this entire show. We did get 1 promo after a match, but yeah, it was pretty much, they really built this show around the 3-way ladder match for the $100,000.
And I have to say, I like that it took that risk. I like that it gave the ladder match as much time as it did, because I think there was a lot going into the story of who was going to claim that $100,000, so it seemed to be a nice cap-off to the story, if really this is the cap-off, because the way it all ended, which we'll get to, seems to leave some things a little open-ended. But yeah, I enjoyed this structure, actually. I wouldn't want them to do it every so often, but every once in a while, I wouldn't mind if they did stuff like this, gave real emphasis to a big main event match. I thought it was nice.
Yeah, once every couple months, I'm fine with it, because like I said last week, it feels like the way that they kind of book their shows makes every week feel almost like a pay-per-view, because like sometimes they have blow-offs to matches, and sometimes they use a match to kind of transition one of the people that are participating in that match into a new feud. And now tonight, again, they're keeping up with the trend of booking their show like pay-per-views, except this time it's in the sense that we got a great pay-per-view quality, main event quality match to close this show, and it actually took up half the show.
Yeah, that's what shocked me, was when I was looking at the time, when they said the main event was next, and I'm like, wow, they're going to start like doing all the hype and everything already. Thought that was really cool. But with that said, let's get right into our first segment, Heat of the Night. And I gotta say, I have no heats of the night tonight. This is another solid show.
Not only do I have no heats of the night, but I actually quite enjoyed Matt Stryker's commentary tonight.
Yeah, it was far more bearable and, dare I say, even enjoyable in parts than what we've gotten from him in the past. So really can't. You
can tell that. I don't know if it's a matter of this was like a separate taping from the last few episodes or what, but it feels like somebody kind of told him to, hold back on the WWE references, maybe try and change up your language a little bit so that you don't sound like you're straight out of WWE and that kind of stuff, because aside from the occasional, he's using a modified insert submission name here, he did really well tonight with actually making this feel like a separate entity from WWE. And really, if the show itself didn't do that so well, Matt Stryker was the only thing holding it back up until tonight. But tonight really genuinely felt like an entirely different show, and I loved it.
Excellent. Very well said. So with that said, we can get right into our Lucha Underground review. And because, as you noted, Ashton, we really didn't get any cinematic backstage scenes, I think we opened up the show with a recap, and then we got right into the action.
Yeah, we did. We had a recap of last week setting up the big story for the triple ladder match. And then, boom, right off the bat, we get King Cuerno versus a debuting luchador, Superfly. And this was just a squash match. I almost said glorified squash match, but I can't think of anything about it that was glorified other than the fact that we got storyline progression because Drago was watching on from the balcony, where Cuerno was watching the Drago match a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I love that. I really love that touch. It's the little things that I think make storylines like this go such a long way. So I really like that little touch up there. But yeah, as you said, really nothing to say about this match. Cuerno looked absolutely vicious right out of the gate. I mean, he instantly got the jump on Superfly, and ultimately he does get the win with that front forward, Death Valley driver that he does. So Cuerno, I think, has really solidified his momentum. He's looking like an impact player, and I love that this feud between him and Drago is continuing. You got to wonder how it's all going to culminate, but can't wait for the rematch between these guys.
I gotta say, John, if there's anybody, and because another great thing about Lucha Underground is that they seem to, at least now, they're kind of starting to get a little bit of a roster rotation going, similar to what NXT has established. And I think it makes sense that you wouldn't have that for the first few weeks, because you kind of need to get guys that people are used to and use them to build up people that people aren't used to. But I think that the thing that I really wanted to point out here was that all throughout this show, and this has nothing to do with the match that we're talking about right now. This is just a side, just like a tangent comment that I wanted to, like an observation that I wanted to make. I really felt the lack of the presence of Mil Muertes tonight.
Yeah, that's a great point, dude. I gotta say, so did I. But I love it, though. I love it how they have enough confidence in their own promotion to take that kind of a leap and say, you know what, we're not going to put you on TV this week. We're just going to keep you, shrouded in the shadows until we're ready to bring you out again. And there's another point I want to make to that, but I think it'll be more relevant when we get to that point in the show, so I'll hold off. But I'm really glad you brought that up, dude.
I think that speaks volumes, though, because, I mean, we talk about potential first title holders, and I mean, if you look at Big Rick, it's like, yeah, whatever. I could handle him being off the show for a week or maybe even 2 or 3 weeks. Johnny Mundo, yeah, I'd probably miss him for 1 week, but, or rather, I'd probably miss him if he was off for more than 1 week, but I think I could handle a 1 week without him. Same with Prince Puma. I feel like there was something missing in the show because of the fact that we didn't get a Mil Muertes squash match tonight.
I would have to agree with you. I'm telling you, I just have this really weird gut feeling that when they unveil the championship, which kudos to one of our commenters on our Lucha Underground reviews, he apparently said he heard an interview from Pentagon Jr. of all people that there's going to be a 10-man, I guess, kind of tourney or whatever to crown the new champion. I don't know when that's going to be announced. But, I mean, I've said for a while I would not be surprised if Mil Muertes ran away with it, and I think he's just become such an integral part of the show that, yeah, his absence was definitely felt. And coming from a Johnny Mundo mark, I will even sign on to your sentiments. Like, I could do without Mundo for a week or even 2 weeks. But Mil Muertes, it's weird because I think we've gotten so invested in his story and in his path of dominance, it's weird to see him not rack up another victim this week.
Yeah, exactly. That being said, though, do we have anything else left to say about the Cuerno Superfly?
No, we do not.
Okay, well, up next, we had, honestly, probably aside from the Mil Muertes vignette that we had, this might have been my favorite individual, like, let's put highlight on this one wrestler kind of vignette that we've gotten, aside from the Mil Muertes one. It was for Pentagon Jr., and I absolutely love the story behind this guy because they were talking about how he felt like he wasn't getting what he needed in Mexico, and in order to learn what he wanted to learn, he moved east and trained with the freaking samurai. We're getting a luchador samurai.
And this is where, and I'm glad this segment came up so soon because it's still fresh off of the discussion about feeling Mil Muertes' absence and all that other stuff. I love how Lucha Underground really is creating its own universe. Like, everybody seems to matter, you know?
Yeah, they're really making it feel like wrestling meets Mortal Kombat. I love it.
And, dude, we've been making those comparisons for weeks, but I feel like with each passing week, it becomes more and more justified.
Yeah.
Like, I'm telling you, I love the fact, and I don't want to get too ahead of myself here, but just to put it all in perspective, I love the fact that we kind of framed where Prince Puma came from. Love Mil Muertes' backstory. That's still my personal favorite.
Same.
Love that we got an explanation for Drago. I'm telling you, and this is going to sound so cheesy, but I truly believe it. It goes from just having your run-of-the-mill wrestling roster to, again, having your own unique universe where all of these people seem to have a story to tell, and they all converge at the one point, that point being this temple run by Dario Cueto. I'm telling you, dude, it's like whatever that key unlocks, which I want to have another little mini discussion about that at the main event segment.
Oh,
like,
yeah, definitely.
All of these people are going to converge to fight for that key, and the way that Lucha Underground is building up these characters and their backstories, and dude, the other vignette we got, you're going to tell me that guy isn't something straight out of a comic book when we get to him too?
Well, I was actually just going to say, like, we're talking about how this is basically Mortal Kombat. We got our own version of Johnny Cage tonight, and his name is Even Cage.
Dude, I'm telling you, that key has got to unlock maybe the ultimate Lucha Underground fighter or something. Like,
Dario Cueto is literally Raiden.
Yeah, he is. He's either that or well, I was going to say Mil Muertes is Shao Kahn, but I'm trying to figure out where everybody fits in this universe. It's just incredible, though, that even Pentagon Jr., because I'll be honest, okay, I like him, I don't have a problem with him, but when he cut that promo about respect, I'm like, okay, he's just probably going to be one of their generic heels, where everybody's got a spot to fill, right? But then you get this, and you get his backstory, and you're like, holy crap. And then, I gotta be honest, I think my only disappointment, not that I'm done talking about this segment, was that Pentagon Jr. didn't even compete tonight. Like, I would have loved to have seen him have a match just after seeing this vignette. But great story, great background for this character.
Yeah. I feel like Big Rick is Jax.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just trying to connect dots now. Like, frickin' Sexy Star is Sonya Blade.
Yeah.
I'm losing my mind right now. I can't even handle the parallels.
I mean, Drago is Reptile.
Well, yeah, that's an Phoenix, might be Scorpion, maybe.
Johnny Mundo, I think, honestly, well, since we already have Johnny Cage with Cage, I would say Johnny Mundo would almost be like Liu Kang with all this.
Yeah, I was going to say Liu Kang. Holy crap.
I'm telling you, man, it works. I'm telling you, it's the craziest thing I've ever. But you know what, though? Like, you hear us laughing and we're so giddy about it. It feels so good to have a product like this where I feel like
because here's the thing. Like, ROH is great, but ROH feels like a 70s wrestling promotion with 2010s style wrestling. Like, it's genuinely feels like a wrestling promotion. But Lucha Underground feels like a series of wrestling-based movies set in the same universe.
That's beautiful. I love that. Because I feel like there's such truth to that. It's crazy, and how all these stories converge. You know what? Maybe I'm putting too much stock into it, but I just gotta feel like there's some overarching narrative somewhere, and I think it all comes back to that damn key. Like, I'm really just putting so much stock in the Lucha Underground writers because they've created this universe. I'm like, okay, what's the end game? Because Cueto has been so hush-hush about that key. He's petrified when it's in the hands of somebody else. It has nothing to do with the money because that got resolved tonight.
Yeah.
Maybe... I know one of our, I was speaking to YouTube commenters earlier, another one of ours had a great theory in mind, and I only bring this up to show you that communication, like we read it and I think we process it, said that it may be some kind of treasure vault, and the center of that treasure would be the Lucha Underground World title.
Yeah, I was thinking it's either that or maybe they'll use, because if you think back to FCW, they used like an Olympic gold medal looking thing as their FCW 15 championship, so maybe they'll use the key as like a symbolic championship for the company.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, whoever controls the key controls the temple. I mean, but see, that's the crazy thing, because then you get all
maybe it's the key to the temple.
Yeah, maybe. And you see, like, you see these backstories.
But dude, that's the thing. Listen to us. Listen to us talking about it. We're so enthusiastic about it. It's so different and great, and I don't want it to end, and I don't want to watch Raw anymore.
But see, like, it's so crazy because, look, dude, if we're going to do this, you know that I'm a gamer. I know you're a gamer, too. And I'm just going to go all the way with this son of a bitch. The beautiful thing about Mortal Kombat with any installment, whenever you win, you always have the ending of what they do after the fact. I would love to see whoever gets their hand on that damn key and whatever's behind it, like, after Pentagon Jr. secured the key, he revived the Samurai Clan, or just some kind of crap like that. Like, it's gonna be amazing. Whatever they're building up to, the idea that they're taking the time to say, okay, you're not just going to be Joe Schmo under a mask. You're going to have an identity. And I think that's the word I've been searching out, Ashton. It's like every single one of these characters isn't just there because they can compete. They have their own unique identity. And that is just so refreshing. Because how many guys in WWE do you see and you just think, oh, well, they're just a placeholder? Even if they've got some kind of a personality going on, you know they're only there to either job to X, Y, or Z. Or
and I think it goes further than that, because like even guys that we care about, even Dolph Ziggler. With Dolph Ziggler, his character is his spot on the card. His character is based on the fact that he's way more talented than where he is being used on the card. Like, that's his character. Dean Ambrose's quote-unquote character is that he's unpredictable. Like, there aren't real characters in WWE anymore. The closest thing that we have is everything in NXT between Tyler Breeze and the Vaudevillains and, you know, that kind of thing. And even they have significantly more shallow characters where, like, you could describe it in a word or two, like Tyler Breeze, model, Vaudevillains, I don't know how you would describe them just because I don't have the proper vocabulary.
Silent actors, I'd almost say.
Yeah, silent 30s, silent film actors. Yeah, something like that. But when you look at Lucha Underground, John, try to describe Mil Muertes in a word or two.
And I can't.
You can't. He's too deep. There are too many dimensions to these characters. It's amazing.
And that's the word. It's dimensions and depth, because what I love about all these characters, and I want to phrase this correctly, and I don't want to like trip all over myself, but they're not tethered to any kind of human element. They almost seem like beyond humanity. Like Drago doesn't seem like this guy under a mask. He seems just like something else. Like, it's and Mil Muertes. I couldn't even begin to describe to you what I think Mil Muertes is.
There's a supernatural element to it.
Yes. Yes. Oh my God, it is so good. And you know what? It's funny because the one Chikara show we watched, one of my earliest experiences with Chikara, I loved it because it was so colorful and the characters were so, you know, fun and imaginative. It was like, I don't know, a comic book come to life.
Yeah.
I feel like Lucha Underground...
This is more like a video game come to life.
It is. It's a video game come to life. I feel like it has the best aspects of Chikara, but it vamps them, like, way up. And,
it's the way that I've described it is if Chikara is PG wrestling done right, Lucha Underground is the non-PG version of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's everything that Chikara is, but it's gritty and it's dark and it's got a more serious tone to it, but it still has a lot of the fantasy and kind of the supernatural and that kind of stuff, the elements that Chikara brings to the table.
I'll say this to kind of cap off my side of the discussion, otherwise I know I'm going to begin spinning my wheels because I'm just so excited. I just want them to do this for one character at least bi-weekly. I want a new story at least every 2 weeks for somebody. Yeah. Work out something and keep bringing depth to this universe. Like, I guess we already kind of know Sexy Star story, so that really wouldn't work. Maybe Son of Havoc. You know, I'd like to know his story. God, who else? Anybody else you've got debuting, I suppose? I mean, we know Cage is coming, and we'll talk more about that, I guess, when we get to that. You know, just so many characters, I think, that you can talk about. I don't know if we've touched on Fenix yet. That would be a great guy to really get his kind of
his match is up next if you want to do a quick transition here.
Yeah, let's do a transition here.
Yeah, because we had Chavo Guerrero with Pentagon Jr. at his side versus Fenix with Sexy Star at his side.
Yeah, you know what? I was really scared, and it would have been a heat of the night for me that Fenix was just going to get the win on Chavo, and the babyface were going to continue to have momentum. Thankfully, that didn't happen, and Chavo Guerrero did get the win, first of all, which I really liked. Keeps Chavo's heat going strong. But more importantly than that, I really enjoyed the matchup these two had. I thought it was great. Psychology on Chavo's part, working over the leg of Fenix. Made sense because Fenix is a high flyer. He does not like staying on his 2 feet for very long. And one really great point in the match, Fenix tries to do a springboard, I guess double knees, and Chavo rolls through with the half crab.
Yep, that was a great spot.
Yeah, that was an amazing spot.
And you know what? What's cool about it is commentary even marked out for it a little bit, especially Vampiro.
Yeah. Who, by the way, I'm really digging Vampiro because he's not purely a face, but he's not purely a heel either. I think it's really entirely dictated by circumstance.
No, I think that what it really is with him is he is a heel, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he only cheers for heels. And I mean that in a sense that in wrestling, what defines a heel is somebody who overlooks rules because all they care about is winning. And that is kind of what defines a heel in wrestling, and that's how his character is. He'll tell somebody, like, if they're showing off or if they're pandering to the crowd, he'll get on them for that, but he does that for both heels and faces, not just faces.
Right. I really like that. If JBL was more like that, I think we'd both find him to be a little bit more tolerable than we currently do.
Yeah, no doubt.
But, you saw Pentagon Jr. try and get involved at certain points. Fenix fought him off. Again, I was still a little disappointed after that amazing vignette that it wasn't Pentagon Jr. Competing, but I digress. And ultimately, yeah, I think it was Pentagon Jr.'s interference that paid the dividend because he distracted Fenix. Chavo Guerrero was able to get him off the top rope. Then he took that place at the top, scored the frog splash. Chavo gets the win. But what's important to note here is the post-match, because Sexy Star gets on the microphone and she says that he's coming back and he's coming for you, obviously in reference to Blue Demon Jr.
Yeah. And, well, she said Blue Demon Jr.
Did she? I just thought each guy. Oh, okay.
No, she said Blue Demon Jr. is coming back and he's coming back for you.
Oh, okay.
And then she called Chavo a pendejo.
Yeah, that's right. I am a little disappointed that it seems like before Blue Demon Jr. returns that Sexy Star and Chavo won't have their kind of blow-off match as Sexy Star kind of defends everybody's honor that Chavo is hurt or incurred injury upon. But I'm cool with it. We got Blue Demon Jr. returning presumably next week. That's kind of what I sensed from it. But yeah, however he returns, it should be interesting how they kind of resolve this feud.
Yeah. All right. Up next, we got our second individual wrestler highlight vignette of the night, but this was for somebody that we haven't seen yet. This was the first time that we've ever seen this guy, and before you even see him, all you see is gigantic thigh muscles and then gigantic biceps, and everyone's saying, including me, that Big Rick is the big dog in this house, but holy crap, this guy is huge, and I don't think he's going to be taller than Big Rick, but there's no doubt in my mind that he is more swole than Big Rick.
Dude, I saw this guy, and I'm seeing the vignette play out, and all I kept thinking was, my God, Scott Steiner's finally been put to shame, because he is freaking huge.
Yeah, I mean, CM Punk wants to call Ryback steroid guy.
Oh, my God. I mean, absolutely insane. You see him moving this big tire, swinging this hammer, and I think breaking it in two or something or other. I mean, really just showing these feats of power. And he says, losing is not in ever getting pinned. Losing is giving up, and that's not me. So it seems like he's coming in as a babyface. Which you can bet your bottom dollar that he's probably going to be that babyface that just mows through the competition the first couple of weeks.
From what I understand, this guy's actually been on TNA Gut Check before.
I don't remember. Hey, but you know what? I was very in and out with Gut Check because I would check out their prospects from the YouTube clips that TNA uploads on their YouTube channel. I don't ever remember seeing this guy because if I did, I'm sure I would have had a few choice remarks. But, we're seeing him here.
He basically looks like Robbie E. on steroids.
Yeah. And I don't even know, man.
And he even has a little bit of like a Liev Schreiber in his face.
What's interesting is part of the video package saw him doing a moonsault, apparently. I don't know.
Yeah. And this guy, he's, from what I understand, he's only about 6 feet tall. So based on that and just going by the fact that he's 6 feet tall and then seeing the way that he's built, he's probably a solid like 270, 275, somewhere around there. And he does a freaking moonsault. Like, what?
Yeah, looking that jack, no less. So I'm actually very intrigued what he's going to bring to the table. And again, it was just another great vignette, and I'm thinking, oh man, another one in the Mortal Kombat universe. I mean, Lucha Underground universe. Oh, kidding, same difference. The only question is, what is your alignment? Are you good, evil, chaotic, neutral? Where does it stand?
I think here's the thing, dude. They take a lot of shots at WWE, so they're not hiding the fact that they're aware of them. I think they might use this guy to parody John Cena. And I don't mean in like a ha-ha funny way. I mean like he'll come in as a babyface, but it will not take long for him to turn chicken shit heel. Well, not chicken shit heel, just jerk heel who thinks he's a babyface.
Yeah. So wait. Would it be somewhat like a Bo Dallas, or would it just be more?
No, because, well, I mean, maybe somewhere between Bo Dallas and John Cena.
Yeah.
It'll basically be John Cena to smart crowds. Like, it would be John Cena if John Cena only worked venues that kids didn't go to. You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe with some of the heel tendencies turned up a little bit, but not even really that much, because realistically, if Cena only worked venues that weren't filled with kids, he would get booed more often than he gets cheered.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And even though he's technically considered to be a babyface, it really just kind of depends on your perspective.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm very intrigued where this cage is going to fall into everything. I mean, so many components to the Lucha Underground universe. I don't even know where to begin. They did say coming to Lucha Underground, so we don't know if it's going to be next week, 2 weeks, whatever. This may be the first debut that they kind of hold out on a little bit. In which case, I mean, I don't mind. A good teaser never hurt anybody. But I'll be very intrigued what he brings to the table when it is time.
Yeah, absolutely. This guy looks like a monster. Like I said, I think he's only 6 feet tall, so he's not going to be your Sheamus, where it's like a 6'6", 275. But he's still built like an absolute wall, and I'm genuinely looking forward to seeing if this guy's any good in the ring. And that's the real question. We know that he's got the look. Judging from this vignette, he's not completely incapable of cutting a decent promo. Can he wrestle?
That is the $1 million question. And if so, can they at least be able to do what they've kind of done with Big Rick? And if he does seem to fall short a little bit in ring, can they at least give him a nice persona and everything else to work with? So, that's my question.
Absolutely. All right, so that being said, we can move on to our main event of the evening, the triple threat ladder match, Johnny Mundo, Big Rick, Prince Puma, $100,000. What a match this was.
Yeah, I really enjoyed how all the elements kind of contrasted. I mean, of course, Prince Puma and Johnny Mundo being the most similar with their high-flying styles. But Big Rick was actually able to bring his power offense and do something real good in this ladder match. I think it was an entertaining component, to say the least.
Can I just say, I absolutely love the psychology that went into kind of putting over the idea that Big Rick was almost afraid of heights.
Oh yeah, I thought that was a great play, because then it gave good reason for Cisco and Cortez to have a presence. Outside of the fact that they are heels and they all share a common purpose, I think it goes a little deeper than that. So I appreciated the creativity.
Yeah, it was. I like that, and it even led to them using 2 ladders for him to climb up. I just love it.
Yeah, it really was a theme that I think carried through the entire matchup, especially the finish, as you said, the 2 ladders. And everything in between, I mean, everybody did crazy stuff. I mean, you had Johnny Mundo, who I have seen, in ladder matches before. He did some stuff that I remember. Him and Puma really went at it hard, especially in the early goings. I know Mundo got a nice knee to Puma's face, but then Puma would fire right back with some crazy stuff. So their rivalry, I really don't think I think it's far from over. And Big Rick came in like a house of fire with his power again. He was doing things to people. But probably the best spot Rick had for me was either when he military pressed Puma onto the ladder and just sent his back crashing through it, or when Puma and Mundo were fighting on the top rope with the ladder wedged. Puma suplexed Mundo onto the ladder, but then Big Rick powerbombed Puma onto Mundo, ultimately.
Yeah.
That was really cool. Yeah, and I love the amount of time that this match got, because it really felt like an epic was unfolding in the ring there, with all the time that it was given and everybody just getting these exchanges. And I even loved the little tease towards the end, because it looked like Mundo had isolated Big Rick, you know, to go back to your two-ladder spot, and he's climbing. Mundo kicks him in the balls, which I loved, and then I'm like, oh man, he's got the briefcase. Of course, me, I'm marking out, I'm losing it. But then this masked man comes in, he takes care of Mundo, and you know, he takes it off. He looked somewhat familiar, but I couldn't put a name to the guy's face.
It was B-Boy.
Oh, B-Boy, okay.
Yeah.
And
he's on the I saw his name on the roster, and everyone that I've said anything to about who that was, anyone that actually knew who it was, said that it was B-Boy. So.
Very nice, very nice. So he kind of monopolized the situation there for Big Rick to make the climb again and get the money. And actually, no, that's not the case. No, Big Rick, he was playing security, because again, we go back to that fear of heights. By that point, Cisco and Cortez had recovered, because they had gone through tables and eaten a lot of offense as well, so they were taken out. That's what happened.
And dude, I love the way that Johnny Mundo kind of fought his way back into the ring too, because he went to get into the ring, and I keep on wanting to call him Zeke. I'm sorry, it's my PTSD from WWE. Big Rick continuously, he was shadowing him. It was like a bad game of Pong, and then next thing you know, Mundo gets up and he grabs him and slams him down onto the ropes, and that's enough to take him out for a bit. And it's just long enough that Mundo can get up and do a springboard onto a ladder that was set up perpendicular to the one that Cisco and Cortez were on, at which point he was able to push that entire ladder over, knocking them off, and then he was set up perfectly to get the briefcase.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, because obviously I'm very happy, and I'm always going to be happy when my favorite wins. But looking at it a bit more objectively, I gotta wonder if this was the right call. You know, I gotta wonder if maybe Big Rick should have gotten the win here.
No, it was the right call. This wasn't a championship. This was just money. This makes the most sense.
Yeah, and you know what, this does convince me to your point, because I kind of had the same line of reasoning you did. I still am convinced, for whatever reason, that Prince Puma is going to be the inaugural Lucha Underground heavyweight champion. Either him, Mil Muertes, but I'd put Prince Puma at the top, because, again, I loved commentary pretty much saying, oh, you know, Puma's doing great, but Conan would be, like, irate with how he's wasting time, this and that. And again, Puma's kind of shattered everywhere. You know, he's kind of broken down all there on the outside, and Mundo gets all the glory. I think the idea that Mundo keeps getting the upper hand, these two are going to be on a collision course at the end of it, and I still see Puma turning heel. And I actually feel like I put more stock in that idea after this matchup. And I think the other thing that made me more okay with Mundo winning, you know, outside of my obvious fandom, was after the match, you know, Cuerno comes out, and he's asking for the key. He said, hey, I upheld my end of the bargain, you know, so give me the key back, you've got your money. And Mundo decks him in the face. So, but he did give the key back. He did drop it on Cuerno's chest. But you have to imagine there are going to be consequences for Mundo, and you have to imagine that there's going to be more told about that key next episode.
You know what I would like to see happen?
What would you like to see happen?
Just a simple suspension and maybe even a fine to get some of that 100 G's back.
Yeah.
You know, like, you don't need to keep it kayfabe, because I love it, because in WWE, if something like that happened, they would punish him by putting him in handicap matches and putting him up against big, scary guys. But that just really just kind of sets the other guy up to look like a hero if he overcomes and see John Cena. With this, it was a direct punch to I don't even know what his title, what's Cuerno's title? The Overseer? I don't know.
Yeah, I would say Overseer.
Okay, well, it was a direct freaking cold clocked him to the Overseer, and it's one of those things where if this was a real business, you would probably be fired. But if it was like an NFL kind of situation, you would end up suspended and you would get fined. And to me, that is the logical conclusion for them to reach here.
Yeah, I would.
And I personally think it would be hilarious if they fined him like $50,000 just to make an example out of him.
Yeah, because that would be half of what he worked so hard to get back.
Yeah, exactly.
And you see, like, I think for the Cuerno character...
And then Cuerno could give that money to Big Rick.
Yeah, there you go. And see, that's the thing. if you're a guy like Dario Cueto, I think it makes sense for his character to go that route. Because, look, he must be looking at Big Rick, Cisco, Cortez, I guess now B-Boy, now that he's re-entered the fray, and just said, look, these guys, yeah, they're good, but they can't stop my Mundo problem, so let me use my more managerial powers to put a dent in everything, and let me get kind of a return on that whole investment, and as you said, put 50 grand back in if you want to keep competing here. And I like it. I like that Mundo is in that role of having the feud with the authority figure, because I'm sure other baby faces don't like him, but it seems like the main beef is with Mundo. Hell, Cueto himself said he only brought him in to make an example of him. Yeah. So it feels really surreal for me as a fan of this guy, where in WWE he was always straddling that mid-card, upper mid-card kind of spot, where he does seem to have a focal point in this promotion as that guy standing up to the heel authority figure and being that babyface. It's really cool.
Yeah,
I think my only concern, and that's why I said I did kind of think maybe Big Rick should have gone over. I don't want him to get too OP. I don't want him to start winning too much, because I've seen, the John Cena's, the Roman Reigns, what happens to guys like that when that happens.
And you know why I don't have a concern with that?
Why is that?
I don't care if he wins every match as long as he doesn't win the championship first.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I am right there with you. You and I have even discussed, I have said over and over again, the first champion needs to be a heel.
Yep.
I'll keep saying it until I'm blue in the face. I just feel like that's the kind of precedent you should set. Now, obviously...
And I think that the one potential exception there is I could buy Prince Puma winning it, especially if it means him turning heel relatively soon afterwards.
Well, yeah, that would be the exception. Any kind of babyface that would win it and turn heel. But again, though, I wouldn't want Mundo near that, only because he won the briefcase. Maybe down the road, of course, I'd love to see him get a little bit of shine with that belt, but not the inaugural champion, certainly not. So yeah, his storyline, beating Puma on the first episode, having the best match, getting that briefcase, has finally come full circle, chasing that money around forever. We'll have to see what the repercussions are of him decking Cueto, but this is a very fun ladder match, and Lucha Underground, man, its universe keeps expanding, and I keep loving it.
Absolutely. It's been great, and this show was great, and this match was great, and we didn't even talk about my favorite spot of the night, when Big Rick just straight up threw Prince Puma onto and through a setup ladder.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant when I said he military pressed Puma. Because, yeah, he just had him, over the shoulders. It was amazing. They used Big Rick's power to perfection in this ladder match.
Yeah, and you could tell he was getting gassed out, and you could tell that there were points when he was blown up, but it was one of those things where he was present just enough for it to really mean something, and the presence of Cortez and Cisco also meant something.
Absolutely, and I'm really glad you brought that up, because, I agree with you. It did seem like he was getting a little tired, a little worn out, but that's what makes the inclusion of Cisco and Cortez so ingenious, because it masked that, and it kept the heel persona up and everything else. So really brilliant booking all around. I love the odds that the babyfaces had to overcome, and Johnny Mundo won the briefcase, baby, but Cueto got his key back, and we're all still suspicious. So that concludes that episode of Lucha Underground. Do you have any remarks you want to make about anything else from this show before we get on to our next segment?
No, I really enjoyed this show, and it did a really good job of stalling my just intense love of all things NXT. And now that we're done with this show, I can go back to my regularly scheduled programming of not being able to wait until our evolution.
There you go, man. So our next segment, high spots and low shots. You know what? I'm going to say that my low shot is going to be, I'm going to say it's Puma. I'm going to say it's Puma.
Yeah, I can buy that. I mean, realistically, he probably, even though he was a part of the main event, he probably had the least really impressive spots in the main event. Unless you count the bumps he took, which were just redonkulous.
And the 630 he did, which was amazing.
Yeah, you know what though? They didn't really talk that much about that on commentary. I was disappointed.
I was really hoping they'd sell it more. That was a thing of beauty.
Yeah, I mean that's something that I don't think I've seen that since 2006 TNA when Elix Skipper was doing it.
Right.
That's a rare feat to behold, and they really undersold it.
It's like, meh, that was nice. But look at Big Rick. It's just like, but yeah, the reason I say Puma is that I think I can actually thank Vampiro for that one, because it seemed like Prince Puma had the whole ring cleared, but I think he really wanted to put Johnny Mundo down for good, and I think taking all that time really cost him in the end. It seemed like he could have won this money, and if we're looking from the perspective of this universe, Conan probably gave Puma a real talking to after this match was over, and that relationship is another thing I'm really looking forward to see being fleshed out, because I think that's the one problem I do have, just as a quick aside. You know, they keep saying Conan is, he's this poison, but I haven't really seen it. I really haven't. Like, I've seen him talk.
No, you're not supposed to see it. It's all behind the scenes, you see.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it's supposed to be left to the imagination, but still, like, you know, proof is in the pudding, and I ain't got no pudding, so I don't know what you're on about, Vampiro, but Prince Puma is my low shot. So who's yours, Ashton?
Well, first of all, before I do say my low shot, I am 99.9% sure we are going to share a high spot this week, just because there really aren't any better options. But there is one other good option for low shot, and I'm going to take it. Superfly, because he got face-owned.
Yeah, he did. Debuted in the Temple, thought he'd have a bang, ended up leaving with a whimper. I mean, he just got crushed. Nothing more to say than that. Now on to the high spot, and I'm going to revel in this. Johnny Mundo, baby.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. The co-high spot of the night.
Absolutely. Oh, man, it feels so good to say that. He is so OP here.
Actually, you know what? Co-high spot implies that there's more than one high spot for one person. This is the unanimous high spot.
Indeed. So who is the other half? I'll leave that to you, brother.
No, I just said this is the unanimous.
So you meant, you botching language. I thought, okay, I see what you're saying. But yeah, feels really great to say that. Gets the briefcase, gets the money, returns the key, but still a phenomenal outing for him, and he's got to be feeling pretty good right about now. So yeah, that concludes high spots and low shots. And because we have no other segments outside of this, and you've got nothing else to say, right?
No, this was a great episode, but man, like I said, I'm glad that it took my mind off of it for the hour to 2 hours that it took for us to watch it and then talk about it, but oh man, NXT Evolution tomorrow night.
Yes. And with that being said, this has been Lucha Underground. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web, today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment and subscribe on YouTube. Keep throwing your theories at us about what the key represents. Who do you want to see get a backstory in this very expansive Lucha Underground universe? We love hearing from you guys. As you saw tonight, we referenced our comment or feedback. Same thing on Pweetov. Let's get the discussion going. And we will finally see you tomorrow night for NXT Our Evolution live reactions, where we will see Kevin Owens go through everything and fight everyone.